Today, I want to tell you about one of my favorite applications for the Mac and coming soon to Windows and how it just got a little bit better because of something I was able to build for it. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dan Vega, Spring Developer Advocate at Broadcom. I like making videos on software development, Java, Spring, and yes, I am huge into productivity, so I'll try and create some more videos around that as well. But if you're looking at my screen, you know what we're already going to talk about. This is an application called Raycast, and I happen to love this app. Your shortcut to everything, it says right here on the homepage. It's really meant to be a replacement for Spotlight. So if you're on a Mac, there's this tool called Spotlight. It's kind of a quick launcher to different things, but Raycast does so much more. It does a lot out of the box, but it also has support for extensions, and you can build your own extensions. So we're going to talk about one of those extensions that I built in just a little bit. But first, here we are on raycast.com, your shortcut to everything, a collection of powerful productivity tools within an extendable launcher, fast, ergonomic, and reliable. So if you scroll through here, you'll see some of the things that it can do. Take shortcuts, not detours. If you want to go ahead and quickly grab an emoji, you can do that. You can search for apps. You can do time-based conversion here. You can do window management. So, if you're on a Mac, window management isn't easy. I use it for that a lot. You can filter out files. So if you want to search for a particular file on your app, you know that pulling up Finder and just trying to find a file is not always the easiest thing. Clipboard management, it has built within the app. So if you ever need to go back in your clipboard and say 5 steps back and see what was on there, you can go ahead and grab that. Just a whole bunch of things. Mainly what I use it for is being able to launch an application, use some type of shortcut, those types of things. And I find it pretty productive for that. I like not having to leave my kind of keyboard to get to those things. What else can Raycast do? I can take notes, track flights, convert anything, search files, run scripts, manage windows, plan your day, remind you of stuff, translate to another language, block distractions, a big one, find text in screenshots, insert emojis, and much, much more. So I'll invite you to go ahead and check out raycast.com. They're not sponsoring this video. I'm a huge fan of the tool. So I just kind of wanted to show that off and show what I built today. So again, I'm going to go over to the desktop. I have a shortcut for this. Mine is Option Spacebar because Spotlight is Command Spacebar. You can easily override that if you want, though. And this brings up the launcher. So if I want to go ahead and launch an application, I can type in iTerm, I can type in IntelliJ, whatever the app may be, I can go ahead and launch that. So that's one thing. Another thing I use it for is kind of clipboard history. So if I want to jump into that, I can. Again, a lot of the things that you'll see in here are extensions. So one of them is I want to pick a color. So I want to pick a color on the screen. I go ahead and hit enter. I have this nice color picker. Let me grab that color. And now that hex color has been copied to my clipboard. That's something I used to use an extension for in like Chrome. And I find that a lot. If you're using a lot of extensions in Chrome, they take up a lot of memory. So if there's something that can do in Raycast, I find that is really helpful. So another thing I can do with this is I can create quick links. And I find I do this a lot. So I have a bunch of quick links, like one, if I wanted to open up localhost 8080, I just type that in. It opens it up in my browser and I'm there. I don't have something running on 8080 right now, but I find that very useful. Other things I do is have links for documentation. So, hey, I'm using Spring AI a lot lately, and I wanted to jump to the documentation. I create a quick link for that. I create quick links for everything, and that is a lot of what I use Raycast for. But again, it's just like finding new ways to use Raycast, and one of those new ways that I'm using Raycast is to create a new Spring project using the Spring Initializer. So if we go ahead and hit enter, now you can drop down in here and you can say, hey, this is going to be a Maven project using Java, using this Spring Boot version. I'll go ahead and say this is dev.danvega. The artifact is demo. We have a description. We have a package name. I may have this dev.dan-vega. We are going to use jar for our packaging. I'm going to pick the latest version of the JDK, which is 23. And then I can go ahead and fill in my dependencies. So I may say Spring Web, and I may build a GraphQL application out. And once I do that, I can go ahead and generate the project. You also see a shortcut for this, which is Command Enter. And when it's done, it immediately takes me into the downloads folder where that demo file is. Here is that particular application, and then I can just go ahead and drag this into IntelliJ, which is right here, and then I can open up that project, and I am off and running. Now, again, this is the Spring Initializer that you're used to seeing. So if we hop over to the browser and we go to start.spring.io, this is the same application. In fact, if you use it within an IDE, you are using the same kind of application. Everything, the web, your IDEs, this new Raycast extension hits an endpoint and it feeds all of that metadata back to the web or the IDE or to the Raycast extension. So I wanted to do this because, again, I'm a big fan of Raycast. So I just set out to build this Raycast Spring Initializer extension. And I just going to walk through this really quickly. We're not going to go through all of the code, but I just thought this was a really cool kind of exercise. So I started with the documentation. There's a way to create your first extension. So you can go through here and kind of learn about how to create an extension. You can use Raycast to actually kind of create the shell of an extension. So I took the documentation here, the ability to search the web, and some of the code that I found on GitHub of other extensions. And I fed that into an LLM. And I said, here's what I'm trying to replicate, because I don't know how to build a React application, and that's what you actually need to build this. I'm very familiar with TypeScript and JavaScript and building component frameworks like Vue and Angular, but I've never really used React. But I figured my combination of those things with my ability to be able to kind of write code, that I should be able to plug this into an LM and get out the particular result I'm looking for. So I said, here's an extension over at start.spring.io, this endpoint that we can hit that will give us all the metadata. Here's what I'm trying to recreate, and I'm trying to do it in this Raycast extension. And boy, it did a really good job on the first try. I had to go through some iterations of like getting this to work. But after a couple days, I was able to create some. And now a couple days is because I had to get this published on the store and things like that. But it turned out, a really fun project to work on, and something I probably would not have done before LLMs existed, because it would have probably taken me a couple weeks to get through this, if I'm being honest, because again, it's not something I've built before. So I think this was really fun to build and really interesting to think about, like some of the possibilities that kind of open up now. Again, I haven't built any iOS applications before. I haven't built anything in Xcode before. I mean, I've kind of just like played around with it. But I feel like if there was an iOS app that I wanted to build, I could get it done in a couple of days. And so this is really exciting to me as a developer, kind of some of the possibilities that are opening up. Now, if you want to install this extension, if you go over to Raycast and you go to the store, you can look in the store and you can look for Spring Init. Oh, there it is. And if you pop that open, then it'll kind of give you a description. You see that was created by me. There are 12 installs already. Thank you to the 12 people out there who are using it. There's ways to report a bug, request a feature, view the source code. So the source code will actually open up, I believe, here on the Raycast extensions, and you can see the source code for this here. We'll actually look at that in a second. And it just kind of gives you a quick rundown, and then there's a YouTube video walking you through how to use it, like 2 minutes of how it works. So that is that. From a source code standpoint, let's take a look at that. Really, there was just a single TypeScript file in there. And again, based on the existing extensions that are out there, the documentation that I was able to feed this into an LM and say, here's what I want this to look like. I want a different dropdown for every one of these things that the endpoint returns. So like, hey, what is the type? What is the language? What is the Spring Boot version? And oh yeah, I want the current version to be the one that's selected. And so just going through this, we go out and we fetch the endpoint. We get all of the data back. If we get it back, then we're going to go ahead and set all of that metadata. And we come through here, we handle that submit. So if you go through here, it's pretty kind of standard code. And again, I don't write a lot of React code, but I can go through here and see what's going on and be able to make changes to it. So this is a lot of fun. Again, I think part of the challenge for me was I've never submitted an extension to the Raycast store. So there are some different ways you can do it through kind of the CLI, and then being able to, and I had some troubles with that. We went kind of back and forth on GitHub on like how to get that submitted. Finally, I kind of scratched that and just forked the GitHub extensions and submitted the code that way and opened up a pull request. And that is what ultimately got my extension into the store. So there's a little bit of a process there, but it wasn't bad at all. So this is the code if you want to take a look at it. If you want to get the wheels turning of maybe an extension that you want to build, go ahead and take a look at that. But in the meantime, I have 12 of those installs. I'd like to see some more of those. So if you can, go over and install Raycast. And once you do that, you can go to the store right from Raycast and find the Spring Initializer. And if you can, go ahead and install that and give me some feedback. That'd be great. Just another way to kind of kick off your new Spring Boot applications using one of my favorite tools for the Mac, Raycast. Just a huge fan of it overall. I love being able to kind of boost my productivity, and it's a great replacement for Spotlight. So if you haven't had a chance to check out Raycast, go ahead and check it out and install that Spring Initializer extension. All right, with that, I hope you learned something new today. I hope you found a new tool today that is going to help you on your journey. If you did, do me a big favor. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and as always, friends, happy coding.